Some commonly held negative stereotypes include women are bad drivers, Middle Easterners are terrorists, and Latinos are here in the United States illegally. Does it make you uncomfortable to read these negative stereotypes and see the images associated with them? Or do the images make you laugh or nod in agreement? When we make these types of generalizations, good or bad, we tend to think things about people that often are not true. These beliefs can lead to misconceptions, misplaced anger, and violence. Bias is an influence on judgment. When assumptions and stereotypes influence our attitudes, we may find making a fair judgment about someone or something is difficult. This can lead to irrational and incorrect assumptions, misunderstandings, prejudice, and fear. There are many types of bias we either hold or encounter. There is racial bias, gender bias, religious bias, and the list goes on. We aren't born with these biases, though. Rather, they are something we learn over time from family, friends, society, media, and our surroundings. Much of our bias comes from ignorance and fear. Would it surprise you to know we aren't even aware of a lot of our biases? That they are hidden to our conscious minds, but come out unknowingly in our thoughts and actions. This is what's known as unconscious bias. What this means is our background, personal experiences, societal stereotypes, and cultural context can impact our decisions and actions without us realizing. A recent study in the UK found 67% of people admit to feeling uncomfortable talking to a disabled person. Gay and lesbian job seekers are 5% less likely to get an interview. And 80% of employers admit to making decisions based on regional accents. Bias is hardly isolated to one area of the globe. It is something we all encounter, both in ourselves and when we interact with others. Each of us has a set of stereotypes and biases we use to form opinions of situations, information, and people. Bias is not always a negative thing, but when it prevents you from making objective judgments and decisions, it can be a problem. Use the following 6 strategies to help you uncover and overcome stereotypes and biases you might be carrying. The first step to overcoming our biases is to take an honest look at our beliefs and behaviors and identify what stereotypes and biases we have. Once identified, you can begin to understand where they came from and why you have them. The next step is to make a conscious effort to change your attitude, emotions, and prejudices. Educate yourself on different cultures, beliefs, and practices. Try to talk to and get to know people who are different than you. Work to be open-minded, non-judgmental, and respectful of those around you. You can access more information on overcoming bias by opening the How to Overcome Unconscious and Hidden Biases PDF in the Resource tab of this course. Time for another knowledge check. Lesson 4. Strategies to Increase Inclusion. In this final lesson, we're going to look at 4 communication strategies you can use to increase inclusion at work and outside of work. Number 1. Always treat others with respect. This includes customers, co-workers, vendors, and anyone else you meet. Respect makes it possible to disagree with someone and still appreciate their point of view, values, and opinions. Be respectful in verbal and nonverbal communication when you are face-to-face. For example, don't stare and also don't avoid eye contact. Don't forget, respect applies to other forms of communication too, such as emails, texts, and voicemails. Number 2. Listen and clarify. Communication styles differ from person to person, between cultures, men and women, and even from one state or region to the next. The following actions can show you're listening and help prevent misunderstandings by clarifying what you've heard against what was said. First, listen for understanding and without judgment. Next, pay attention to verbal and nonverbal cues. Then, repeat back what you think you have heard. Finally, ask questions to verify your understanding. Taking time to ask and answer questions can help you gauge understanding and can often provide more insight and information to everyone who is a part of the conversation. Number 3. Shift your perspective by demonstrating empathy and sensitivity for the values, attitudes, and beliefs of others. Trying to imagine yourself in the other person's shoes and see things from their perspective is called empathy. Empathy can also help as you seek to understand another person's point of view, even if you don't agree with it. It helps you deliberately slow down decision-making, so you don't rush to judgment based on stereotypes and bias. You can help develop your empathy for others by familiarizing yourself with the other person's language, customs, beliefs, and culture. Finally, avoid communication styles and forms of communication that may exclude a team member, co-worker, or supervisor. Differences in English fluency, age, experience, and location may mean you need to slow down, speak clearly, and avoid using technical jargon and slang. Don't forget that communication happens outside of the office too. So don't make a team decision or work on a team project at a social event when one member of the team hasn't been invited. This is a good time to practice empathy. How would you feel if the tables were turned and you were excluded? No one likes to be excluded, and a workplace where employees feel included directly affects worker retention and growth. Well done. You've completed the course. You should now be able to explain what diversity means and factors contributing to an increase in workforce diversity. Explain the concept of inclusion and how it fits into a diverse workplace. Understand and appreciate the role, behaviors, and benefits of diversity in the workplace. Explain 4 strategies employees can use to create and support an inclusive workplace. Recognize behaviors that aren't inclusive and what action to take. So, are you ready to assess your knowledge? Click the button below to start the assessment to gauge your knowledge. You must achieve 80% to pass the assessment. If you are still not ready, you can go through the course again by clicking the button below. Please note that once you begin the assessment, you must complete it with a passing score before exiting the course, or it will complete with a failed status, and you will then have to retake the course.